12:20. Okay.
12:20.
Uh-huh. You're listening to KGBC 96.9 FM Oakland and streaming online at www.kgpc969.org. This is the Anything Can Happen show with Kenya Asa, Quezzy Dreams, and your man Cat Fitness. We about to go in today, y'all.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
if everybody could see what it took to get this episode going,
Oh,
like
goodness.
this is a divine conversation we about to have. The
It's
ancestors is about to speak through us and
Come
speak some
on,
truth.
ancestors. Come on now. Come through.
This person we have in the studio is pretty powerful because she's about to bless us with this conversation.
What?
Can you tell us a little bit about who we have in the studio today, Miss Kenya?
You know, I'd be happy to. And y'all know, those of you that watch the show, listen to the
They
show.
do watch the
They
show.
They do. That's true. Watch and listen to the show.
On social media.
That is correct. Y'all understand that women in business is a big passion for me. Female entrepreneurs. I am always excited, extra excited. But
The sisters are holding it down.
holding it down, holding it up, holding it to the side, holding it together. We doing it. So today we have Bria Hutson on the show. She is the owner of, I'm just gonna try it here. The MF'n Vegan, right?
Ooh.
The owner of the MF'n Vegan.
Come on.
The MF'n Vegan.
Say it with your chest.
I'm saying it with my chest.
Uh-huh.
She is a young, innovative Black woman, mother, and business leader.
Wow.
She was born and raised in Deep East Oakland. Grew up in a community that is very dynamic, but she is proud of where she came from, good and bad. I'm going to let her do a little bit more of her details, but I do want to say a little bit about why she's here and why she started her business. She was frustrated by the absence of fresh, whole, plant-based foods in her environment. We all know a little bit about that. And she decided to be the change. She decided not to just complain about it, but to
We ain't
actually
gonna talk about it. We're gonna be about it.
That's
y'all.
absolutely right. And
Yes.
they are a food allergy friendly, soy-free, nut-free,
Ooh.
and they have gluten-free options for
And
us
gluten-free?
gluten-free folk.
Uh-oh.
And they source the majority of their products from local farmers. So
Wow.
can y'all just give a warm shout out to Miss Bria Hutson?
Yes.
Miss
yes,
Bria.
yes.
Yes.
Hey, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this opportunity.
Oh, as you
Man.
should be.
We
We're
are
excited to have
excited.
you here.
Mhm.
We're very excited. But I know let's just hop right into it. So first and foremost, how you feeling today?
Oh, I have a multiples of feelings. So I'm in this,
Multiple.
yes, I'm in this space where I'm challenging myself out of my comfort zone, I would say.
Ooh.
And it's just so crazy because growing up, I was a social butterfly, but just through my transition, I kind of put my social life on hold.
Oh,
And
wow.
so now, like, you know what? I got to get back into it, get out there, make it happen. So it's challenging me to step out, into that space and just become more comfortable and more open.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Ashe. When you said transition, like, what do you mean exactly?
So what that means for me is just blossoming, right? So a little more into my background. So I had my children. I had my son when I was 18, fresh out of college. And by the time I was 20, I had my daughter. And so like the past 10 plus years of my life has just been like establishing a better foundation. And so that meant that I had to sacrifice, my younger 20s, being out, like learning who I am, going out, living out, being social to really, again, to create that foundation. So now that they're older, I'm like, you know what, you got to get back, to yourself. You got to reclaim your life and you have to get out there and be who you truly are.
Yeah.
And like people that know me, they know that I'm very vocal.
Yeah.
Like,
You tell it like it is, right?
for sure.
Come on.
But sometimes I can come off like a little, I don't want to say standoffish, but more so like,
Intentional.
Focused.
like a,
Oh,
is it an introvert? More of an introvert.
Oh,
but I'm like, that's
introvert.
not my person. That's not my personality. But honestly, like that's been one of the things that I've been able to do with the brand MF'n Vegan
Hey.
is to be vocal, to be bold, right? And that's been encouraging me to actually to show up for myself personally in that way.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. And that's such a unique name for an introvert, the MF'n Vegan.
Yeah.
That definitely stands out.
Yes,
that
it does.
definitely speaks loudly. So tell us a little bit about the brand. Tell us about the company, the MF'n Vegan. Talk to us.
Got you. Yeah. So, I started just my entrepreneur journey in 2018. And from there, honestly, when I started, it was more of like, okay, I just want to do this. I didn't really know what. And now that I look back at it, I felt like I was being a little, mediocre, like a little timid in a sense. Like, okay, like I want to do this, but then I don't want to, like, I don't know. I just wanted to do it, right? And then just over the past couple of years, like being able to really see, in order to create that change and be the change that I want for my community, I have to speak to my community, right? So. One key aspect or component is like if you look at our menu, like we have Big Papa Nachos, right? So we think of Biggie Smalls, we got Thug Passion drink, that's Tupac, we got a You Feel Me smoothie, we got Sideshow Slider. So just making sure like our culture, our Bay Area, is reflective and it speaks to our people. Because like I had to ask myself, like if somebody comes to you and you like, oh, I got this digestive aid, or I got this, this just something that doesn't speak their language, they're going to be more apprehensive about trying it. But if they walk in there, it's like, oh, I want that You Feel Me smoothie, like that speaks my language. Like I'm excited about.
You gotta have some hypey juice,
right? Exactly. It creates a whole different experience and energy around their experience, especially people that are just trying. Are just transitioning to plant-based lifestyle, are just opening up to it. So just making it fun, exciting, and speak to our people.
Can I ask you, Bria, what was your journey to plant-based living?
Yeah.
So I transitioned in 2017.
Wow.
And it was me and my sister had did this cleanse.
Was this the sister I just met?
No, it's my other sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did a cleanse, and my sister actually suffered from PCOS. And she was told she would never have children.
That's polycystic ovarian syndrome.
And it's a lot of women, especially Black women, that have been diagnosed with this condition. And it's actually increasing. And maybe more people are just becoming more aware of it.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, well, let's just do this cleanse. My sister was a truck driver, so she just came off the road. I was like, all right, we're going to do this. And we did a 10-day, I want to say it was like D-Herbs, full body cleanse.
Where'd you get the cleanse from, if you don't mind me asking?
The brand is called D-Herbs, and I think it's also, they're based out of LA.
Okay.
And so we did that, completed it, and after that, my body would just reject animal products. Like I would eat it, and I would get super bloated and sluggish. And I was like, you know what? I don't like how this feels.
Your body starts to reset.
Exactly. Reset 100%. And I like that you said it, because oftentimes we think we don't know that our body, we don't understand the signals and the signs that our bodies are giving us, because we're so used to having those, right? We're so used to that experience, that feeling that we think is normal. Exactly.
That's right.
Come on.
So I was like, I didn't like how it felt. So I was like, all right, I'm about to just try this out, see how it's going to go. So yeah, I was like, all right, let's just do it. So I started watching YouTube videos and just getting really creative. But one of the blessings that came out of the cleanse is my sister actually got pregnant with my niece, and my niece is about to be 5 in July. And so like right then, like I knew that it was something really significant and important when it comes to like making sure that we're maintaining our body like we do everything else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Go ahead, Ken.
No, I was thinking, because you say you grew up in East Oakland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the food deserts that we have in the Bay Area.
Correct.
There's more liquor stores, fast food joints,
churches,
churches on every single corner, on every other corner, if not every single corner.
And do you mean churches?
Churches chicken. Churches chicken.
Exactly.
We talking about churches
fried
in the
chicken.
hood.
Oh, man.
And it's so funny because we grew up not knowing what fresh fruit and vegetables are, and being exposed to those kind of things. And it's funny because, like you said, once you get exposed to it and you can actually feel the difference and the shift of energy that happens in your body, you're like, oh my God, it's something here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How can I get more people in my community to feel what I'm feeling? Because I know what you feel like, because I felt like that growing up. Now let me show you the other side. Let me expose you to something new and different.
And it can be such a journey too, because I remember when I first started a plant-based journey many years ago, I was so shocked by the difference. I was, and I, to be honest, the difference was a little bit scary because
it can be.
Yeah, it was scary because I thought to myself, I thought that I felt fine.
Yeah.
I thought that I was healthy. And then here we are a few weeks into at that point, it was an entirely vegan journey. And also, I wasn't eating sugar. I wasn't eating rice. I wasn't eating apples. I mean, I was, there's a lot of sugar things and high inflammation food that I eliminated from my diet. And I remember running one time just to get to my car, and I thought, why am I running? Like, what's happening?
I'm starting to float.
I was like, I just ran like 4 miles. I was like, because normally I'd be meandering, slow. And so that's the interesting thing about, and then so what you decided to do was take that to your people, take that to the next level.
Correct. Yeah. Especially experiencing, again, when we transitioned in 2017, it was before veganism, right? And plant-based living was kind of like commercialized.
Yeah.
So like when I say it was nothing, it was nothing. So if I didn't pack my lunch, I wasn't eating, right? And so yeah, I was like, you know what, I gotta do this. Like I gotta make this happen. But honestly, what really pushed me like to actually start the business was realizing what I didn't want. So I was blessed enough to get this apprenticeship through the county. I got hired on in the finance department, and I knew that day that it wasn't going to work, but I feel like I was able to recognize that because of me transitioning. And I feel like when I transitioned, my intuition was just more clear. Like I didn't second guess like how I felt. Like I just knew like I had to go with it. And so like within like the first week, I transitioned from that position. I was like, all right, we about to do this. Like people already come to me asking questions like, okay, well, I have children. Like, how do I get them to eat more vegetables? And I'll be like, well, instead of boiling the vegetables, try sauteing them or roast them. Because I remember being a kid and I hated boiled Brussels sprouts. Like the center of the Brussels sprouts was just so nasty.
Nasty.
Like steamed them. You know how you put them in the steamer?
Yeah, but now it's like I just take them, I chop them up, I put them in the skillet, saute them, put them in the oven. My children love them, and it's night and day, like the experience and the taste.
My kid eats Brussels sprouts too.
You know the seasoning, them things is
Yeah.
fire.
Oh yes, Brussels sprouts are
Everybody say,
delicious.
I had Brussels sprout at like 27.
Yeah, Brussels sprouts are delicious.
Yeah, they
But
are.
I think you said something real key just now, because how does food change us from listening to our intuition sometimes?
Oh yes, and I'm so glad you said that, Kat, because I was gonna bring that up because you said you followed your intuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
You felt something and you decided to go with that, and a lot of people don't do that because it's fear based and. And especially a lot of women, I'm always talking about this book called Practical Intuition. And in it, the woman, I think the author's name is Laura Day. In it, she talks about how women are one of the only things on the planet that will not go with their intuition. We've been raised to think to not follow our own feelings, our own truths, get into relationships that we might not really serve us and stuff like that. And so for women to take that intuition that you were just describing and run with it, what gave you that impetus to do that?
Honestly, I would say it was a connection of transitioning. Like there's a level of clarity that comes with it, and you start to really look at life differently. And I think also too, like back then, like with it not being so commercialized, it wasn't watered down. So I was eating like garbanzo beans crumbles for meat alternative, like I was having green smoothie. So before there were so many options, I was really eating like real plants.
You were
like,
eating raw food.
So that made it, and then realizing that food has energy too, right?
Ooh,
and how you cook it can kind of, change, can change that too also as well. Yeah. And so like, I know that's a big part of it. Honestly, too, in addition to that, like my journey has been just like, all right, this is what it is. What you gonna do? Right? I've always been that person that's like, okay, well, this is the problem. What's the solution? Like I've never been one to really just dwell and not move forward. And so again, just knowing like I got my children, I want them to have a better life. I gotta do what I gotta do, and if it's on my mind and my heart, then that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Jump and the parachute will come.
Yeah.
Oh man, hopefully.
Yeah. That's been honestly, that has really been my journey. It's just walking by faith and not by sight, and just knowing that whatever you may be going through is temporary.
That's a game changer right there.
It is. Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Walk by faith, not by sight.
Mhm.
And speaking of the journey, I mean, where did it start actually tangibly, right? Like, when did you sell your first product, and what product was it?
Ooh, I started my first product in, I want to say it was 2018. And I had just came up with the brand, and then it was the event. There's this guy, he has a social media presence. His name is Derek Grace too, and he was having an event.
Oh yeah,
he was having an event at Dope Era, and I was like, you know what? I was started taking his course. I had just left my job.
Wow.
Like, okay, I'm about to, get some T-shirts made, get some labels, make some juice, and just take it. And I did it. And while I was there, like, I shared my story, my journey. And then, like, a lot of people was like, "Oh, can I buy some? Can I buy some?" And then Fab was there, and I gave him the fruit roll-ups because we was making CMOS fruit roll-ups at the time.
I remember when he promoted that.
Yeah. And then he was like, "All right, I'm gonna need like 10 of these and 10 of these." So, like, he was like, my first large order has been very key in my journey and supportive. Since then, but it started in 2018. Yeah, big shout out to Fab.
Shout out to Fab.
Yeah.
You said CMOS fruit roll-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
Yes, it does.
How do you come up with the concepts for these items?
Honestly, it was just doing it myself and trying to make healthy alternatives for my children and be like, okay, well, how can I sneak this in there? Like, they not about to eat a spoon of sea moss, but if I make these, they call them like fruit lathers.
Yeah.
But if I make these, then they gonna enjoy it. So learning that sometimes instead of just saying our children won't eat certain things, like, okay, well, how can I still give it to them without them knowing that they get it?
Wow.
And being like creative about it. And so that was one of the ways, in addition to smoothies, basically.
That's powerful. So your portals were open.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
received the blessings.
Yeah.
I say, would you consider yourself a pioneer for vegan food in the Bay Area?
I definitely would consider myself a pioneer, especially with what we're creating and how we're doing it. For me, like, I love, fried foods, but my body's at a space where it kind of rejects it.
Really?
It's so interesting. Like, I've been wanting to have like some fried mushrooms, but every time I do it, like, I can feel a difference in my body. So okay, well, I don't necessarily, I can't necessarily eat that. And so just going back to like being a pioneer, I say that I am, more so because of the fact that our menu, there's no fried items on our menu, and you still get the same satisfaction, you still get the same taste, the same experience, right? But it has not been like deep fried. And I feel like in our community, oftentimes when we do eat, a lot of things are fried because that's how it's been culturally. Either it's fried or it's loaded in a bunch of butter,
Salt,
all those different things. And so for me, it's like, what I like to say is like, we're bringing a smack and nourishing plant-based food, right? And we're bringing a new look and new style to healthy, and we're putting a spin, a healthy spin, nutritional spin on non-healthy items.
Yeah.
And so, like, we have our Big Papa nachos, and so with putting this one together, I wanted to make sure that it was filling, right? That you're getting some protein, you're getting some fiber, so you have some quinoa, organic red quinoa, you have some chickpeas, that's been cooked in different like spices and herbs, and you have the jackfruit. So right there, that's a whole bunch of protein and fiber, right? And you still feel like you're enjoying and you're having nachos, like some regular nachos, but it's nutritional rich. Like, it's going to help you along your journey, right? It's going to do more good than it is harm.
You just made me super hungry.
Yeah, me too, because I love vegan. I love vegan nachos. It took me a long time to perfect my cheese, my fake cheese. Mm-hmm. So I know that it's hard to get a good nacho without some of those traditional products. So let me ask you, when you talk about, I'm sorry.
Before we get to that, we actually got a comment from our live. So follow us at ach.show. I repeat, follow us at ach.show on Instagram. We have a comment on our live from Malibu's Burgers, who we had in the studio just a couple weeks ago. But he said, we have a pop-up day whenever she's ready.
Oh,
I'm with it 100%.
Collaboration.
Yes.
I'm for sure with it. Let's make that happen.
Come on,
that's one of my spots. I love the barbecue strips. That's one of my favorite things on their menu.
Ooh, y'all.
Until I had them, like nobody was doing the strip game like them.
Yeah, that food was so good. Malibu's.
So you told us a little bit a story last week about Malibu's and how your mom.
Oh yeah, you guys. Okay, shout out to my mom. Hey, mama. So I had gone to Malibu's after the show because hearing Darren, the owner of Malibu's, talk about that food had me crazy. Okay. So I went over there. We all went over there, right? Got some food. I brought some food home. My son, I took a video. Y'all probably saw that. I took a video of my son eating the burger. He had no idea that it was not, animal meat. Wow. He had no idea at all. He was stunned. And then my mom walked in and I gave her some of the burger while she was walking, because she was starving. And I said, here, eat this. So she's chomping down on it and had no clue. And my mother's old school. And she was like, what? She wants to go there so bad now because she said that it wasn't a good vegan burger. It was a good burger, right?
Period.
It was good, period.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, I'm just shouting this out, y'all. That Guinness shake was kind of the best thing I ever had in life. So anyway, but what I was about to say to our guest today is about circling back around to being a pioneer. I love the idea of you thinking about your children. And again, this is what a lot of women do, moms, of how can I get this into my child? I know I've done the same thing. Like, how can I sneak this salad into my child? But the pioneer part, like what Kwesi was just saying, the fruit roll-ups or fruit leather, sea moss fruit leather, that's not something that or probably a lot of us out there, especially a lot of us moms are probably like, ooh, that sounds like a good idea. And so I think that's part of it, is that you have you're not just thinking about yourself or even just about the community. You're thinking about children, your children being healthy. And that's one thing that we have to push forward a little bit more. Because if we create healthy children, we create healthy adults. Yep. And that's what we need in our community is healthy adults.
Yep. I agree 100%. It starts where they're young. And I think back to when my son was in kindergarten, he had his first experience with gardening. And he still talks about it to this day. We would bring beets home, and we'll juice them. And what I've learned is that when children are more involved, they have their hands in it, they're more inclined to experience it. Yeah. And so, like, having them to pick some kale. All right, well, how do you want to try it? Even just describing, just all those different things, just having them a part of the experience opens their mind to trying it, right? And they're more inclined to continue to consume it because it's a part of, they see it as a fruit of their labor.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's what really big with me. Honestly, my son, he has taken on this whole chef thing where he be in the kitchen just making stuff up. And I'm like, go ahead. I'm with it. Whatever you want to do.
Empowerment. That is food autonomy, which is a big passion of mine because I'm a big gardener, right? It's food autonomy, especially for our community. Like, we do not always have to get somebody else's permission in order to feed ourselves,
right?
And so that's so important.
Yeah. And creativity is contagious. Yeah. So that's powerful for the young ones to see. And how old are your kids?
So my son is 10 and my daughter is 8. So they're at this stage where they're very impressionable. Yeah. And it's so interesting because my daughter, she at this stage where she just like, oh, well, I don't want to eat this anymore. I don't want to eat that anymore. And it's just like, okay, well, what's the sudden change? What's up with that? And just allowing her to express why. That's one of the things that I learned on my journey too, is like children have reasonings just like we do as adults, and allowing them to express themselves and to give you their whys, right? And us sometimes giving them our whys, is also important too. So that's something that I've been working on changing, like not only the food that I'm giving them, but just overall better parenting skills in the generations that, came before us.
Yeah. And let's talk about that in terms of balance. I mean, you being a woman entrepreneur, being a mother, you might be dating, but obviously you have your own personal life outside of those things. Like, do you have balance? And if so, how do you create?
It's something that I'm working on. I feel like it's a constant journey. So I have phases where like I'm on it 100%. And I have phases where like I slip, I slip up and I kind of lack my self-care. But at some point I always circle back around and pull it back together. But one thing that I have been remembering is that it's okay as a mom to say, I need my personal space. And so like my children know, like, my room is my personal space.
I was gonna say, can you say that one more time for the moms?
Like,
really
say it for the moms.
We are entitled to our personal space, and it's okay to tell your children that I need personal time. And even just honestly, just being open with them and transparent with them on all different levels. Because they oftentimes they know energy, they know if something is wrong or something is right. And so just like we tell them not to lie to us, we owe our children the same honesty. So if my son see me, it's like, hey mom, your energy is a little off. Are you okay? And I'll just go to him like, I had a long day, or this happened or that happened.
Because don't lie to him, because he knows.
Exactly.
He can tell by looking at you.
100%.
Wow, that's powerful.
And it's also good to teach our children, and we talk, we all have our little roles on this show, and I'm the self-care girl, right? And so it's so important for moms to know we have to be able to allow ourselves the time to regroup and to replug in, and to unplug, replugging into whatever our passions are, or whatever our relaxation, our mindfulness, anything that we need in order to just get ourselves back together. And then you're teaching your child, you're teaching your son and your daughter, that this is valid, that this is really, really important. You can grind all day long. You can grind if you want to, but at some point, where are you going to allow yourself the rest? And I struggle with that a lot too. I'm a really busy person. My mom is visiting right now, and she's just like, when do you stop?
Yeah.
Right.
It's really, really hard, but it's a lesson that we have to teach our kids and pass down, that it's okay to unplug.
Agree. And it starts when they're young. Like, I feel like a lot of us struggle with it. A lot of women struggle with it because we've seen the women before us carry that trait. You think about like the big mamas,
Yes.
She would literally sacrifice herself for the better of everybody else. Exactly. Yep. And so just realizing that it's a challenge, because it's almost as if it's in our DNA.
It is.
Because it's happened for so long.
Yes.
And that's why I remind myself, and I have to be really patient with myself. And it's like, look, this is something that you're breaking a generational curse. Like,
that's
literally by actively saying like, okay, I matter. I have to take time for myself. We are literally breaking that cycle, and realizing that it's important, because I don't want my daughter to also have that characteristic. Then I don't want my son to feel like, okay, well, this is how women are supposed to operate, also as well. So it's like a double-edged sword, but it's something that's very, very important. And so like, it could be as simple, like for me, last week I had a meeting, and my children had a rough morning. I just sent her an email like, hey, can we reschedule? Like, I had a rough morning with my children. I need time to regroup. And the lady responded and said, I understand, it's okay. And so sometimes it's like, we feel like we have to do certain things, but if your mind, the capacity isn't there, it's better to just be honest with yourself and someone else and say, look, I don't have the capacity to do this right now. I'm gonna have to put this to the side for the moment, for my mental health, and then to also be able to show up the way I want to show up when we are meeting and having a conversation.
Right. And that's a Black cultural trauma that a lot of Black women deal with, because like you said, we are trained. Big mama did it. In my family, her name was down home mama. Everybody's got a big mama, a something mama, grandmothers, great grandmothers. And then that was passed down to our mothers, who worked their fingers to the bone, never allowed themselves any rest. And that is how they got their kudos. That's how they felt like, I'm doing good if I continue to sacrifice myself and don't give myself any grace and don't give myself any rest. That makes me a better person. But that's just not accurate.
Right. 100%.
Wow. Man, that's super real. And I believe that that's going to take us to our break. We're going to take a quick music break, but you're listening to the Anything Can Happen show on kgpc969.org. www.kgpc969.org. You can find more of our content there, and also follow us at ach.show on Instagram. We got a whole nother half of the show with our amazing guest Bria from the MF'n Vegan. But before we get to that, we have a music break. Stay tuned, y'all. We can talk good. Like, I think the mic's better. Sure. Good job.
Thank you.
Oh no, you're fantastic.
Thank you.
You're really good. Yeah.
Like it's just me getting out of my mind.
Oh,
It's something about recording
Mm-hmm.
that be like tricking me.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything that you want us to ask you about to help promote your business or market or share something with that? I mean, we have plenty of questions, but if you want us to gear the conversation.
Honestly, I can't think of any specific questions, but I know earlier I was telling Kat that a message that has been on my mind is like knowing when to pivot, right? And that our plan isn't necessarily, God's plan, and being open to exploring that.
I would love for you to talk more about that too, actually, and also where people can get your stuff.
Okay.
Because I don't even know that.
I can give you that. And what's so interesting is like we're literally right there on Adeline at a commissary, but the idea was to be like ghost kitchen style, but it's not really. It hasn't been as effective, so I have to go back out to do pop-ups and farmers markets so that we're more accessible, more visible. And so that means that we aren't like taking orders out of our commissary like we were at first. So I'm still like figuring that out, but I'm in the process of again like launching our plant-based alternative, and so that's going to be like a subscription where you can go to our website to purchase it. Wow. And then honestly just staying connected social media, like we're going to be posting like where we're going to be selling, our monthly calendar, but I don't want to say like, oh, come to 3015 Adeline this, Friday and Saturdays, because that was our typical days that we were open and you can order, when I know that the capacity right now is not working. And more so, I think a lot of people don't know what comes behind like operating out of a commissary, food business, all the expenses. It's like my rent is variable, so the hours I'm there, I'm paying per hour. So if I don't have nobody to come, I'm paying for those hours, and I have to set up at least 4 hours to sell, which means I need at least 3 to 4 additional hours to clean up. So it's like I have to make those decisions to be like, okay, well, we can't be open and only this amount of people come, or we only make this amount because we're doing more harm.
Sure.
It's tough. It's definitely tough because I have people that call and I have to like, we not open. I can't do it. I was doing it since we opened. It's like, I gotta.
Well, and talk about what the goal is too, like where you want to be.
Got you.
Yeah,
I got that.
I'm gonna have you bring us back when we come from this commercial break, okay?
Okay. Yes.
So you guys probably hear like you and I.
Oh man,
This conversation is amazing.
Yes, it is. I love how we always have. It's always, we're talking about one thing, but then the journey and all the things that you have to do and think about, as you do this, is so interesting.
Yep, it's always more than what meets the eye.
Yes, it is.
Multi-dimensional.
I can't wait to try your nachos.
Yeah.
I'm a nacho loving food.
I'm a nacho connoisseur.
I am. My God, I will tear up some nachos. But when I finally perfected my cheese, I did a video on Instagram of me stirring it, my vegan cheese. I was like, yes, finally what I want.
It's so interesting because I was just talking to my sister. I was like, when I first transitioned, the hardest thing was cheese.
Yes.
But now I don't really eat it unless I'm having like nachos. So I thought it was like the end of the world.
Oh yeah. It feels like it.
All right.
Some cheese.
Everybody get ready.
All right.
We're gonna be coming back.
Excellent. So you are listening to the Anything Can Happen show with Cat Fitness, Quessy Dreams, Ruby Envy, and our amazing guest, Bria Hutson from the MF'n Vegan. Oh my goodness, if you're just tuning in, you missed out on about 30 minutes ago, but it's all good. You can check out our Instagram page at ach.show, follow us, or go to www.kgpc969.org to catch the first half of the episode. But second half, best half, we're about to bring you even more amazing content from our amazing guests, Miss Bria Hutson. You still in the building with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh my goodness. You ready for the second half?
I'm ready. Let's make it happen.
Okay, we're going to start it off hot. So we're not even going to recap what we talked about in the first half. We're going to make them go to the page and check that out. But in the second half, one question I want to ask you, we talked a little bit off there about God's plan versus your plan. Right? God's plan versus your plan. Can you break that down for us?
Yes, this is actually something I've been battling with for the past couple months. And so when I think about what it means to follow God's plans instead of your plan, is being open to make necessary pivots when they needed to be made. And oftentimes as we're on our journeys, we pull back, right? Because we're so emotionally attached, right? To this plan that we have developed without realizing that God knows what's best. Ancestors knows what's best. They know what's up ahead. We don't.
You know what's funny though?
Uh-huh.
I just had to jump in right there.
You good?
It's what we have planned sometimes prepares us for God's plan.
That too. 100%.
It preps us, you know?
Yeah.
And we can only see the plan that is prepping us, but God can see that bigger plan,
Right.
that we can't even imagine sometimes.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And sometimes we can be a little timid and afraid of it too, also as well. And that's where I was kind of at. So right now, like I've had to pivot from operating as a ghost kitchen in West Oakland, and getting back into like pop-ups and farmers markets, and events so we could be more visible, but also realizing that ideally when I started, I wanted to have a brick and mortar. Right. And then realizing, okay, with COVID, that might not necessarily be the best decision because a lot of people haven't been able to like dine in and they want to be out. So like, okay, well, maybe we can do a mobile food truck. Right. And then now it's like, you know what? We have this jackfruit meat alternative that a lot of our customers really enjoy. And people will be like, oh, this is the best jackfruit I've ever tasted. And I have customers that be like, oh, I tried to make the barbecue jackfruit at home, but it did not come out the same. Like, what do you do? Like, you know what? That's God telling me like, okay, well, you need to go ahead and switch over to doing more manufacturing and packaging of this jackfruit that you make, because it's so intricate and there's so many components to it that whether I package it up and sell it or I'm selling it as a component of the food, I still have to go through that process. Right. And so I've been just taking the time to really just prepare myself for it and realizing that there isn't necessarily going to be a difference in operations, again, because I still have to make the jackfruit in order to sell the nachos or the sliders. The only component is that now, instead of waiting for people to come to us and to find us, we're going to be able to be with the customer. So you don't have to come to us to have the barbecue sliders or the big papa nachos, because now you have the taco jackfruit, or now you have the barbecue jackfruit where you can make it at home. And so this is really important, because what I've come to realize is that I can do more and I can reach more by choosing to make this pivot, opposed to just having a brick and mortar. There's only so many people that I can serve, opposed to, again, like having it as a meat alternative that can be delivered directly to customers, like via online e-commerce, or again, if they come to the farmers markets and purchase it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, that's very dope.
So
That's very dope. And do you, well, in terms of alignment with your journey, right? Do you see yourself being in full alignment and partial alignment, or are there some like major adjustments that need to happen in order to get you where you see yourself going?
I say that I'm almost there. Like I'm in between partial and full.
Okay.
So like I've already started preparing for the change, and it's something I've always knew that I was going to do and I wanted to do. I just didn't see it happening so early. Right. I thought like, okay, we're going to have this location, and then maybe like 2 years from now, we'll bring it to the market. But again, God and ancestors like, no, you need to do this now.
Right.
You got to make this now.
It's needed.
Yeah. So like we're preparing to make that happen. And if everything goes as planned, I plan to launch it before May is over with. And I'll be posting more information about that on our social media. If you guys are connected or aren't connected, definitely follow us on there. But yeah, I'll be posting more information on our social media, on our websites regarding the launch of the alternative, but I know it's the way to go.
Absolutely.
I want to change up the speed of the conversation just real quick because you have a lot of things on your plate, right? You have your kids, you have your business. I know you said that you take time to do self-care, right? Does that involve any kind of like working out, like yoga, strength training, or anything like that to maintain your own personal health?
Yes. So I love lifting weights. When I was actually at Cal State East Bay,
You got that Angela Bassett kind of body too.
that was
music to Cat's ears. Music. Cat was like, lift weights.
Yeah, no, when I was
My
at Cal
language.
State East Bay, like I had like 2 activity classes. So I would do weight training, kickboxing. I actually studied Taekwondo, and it was really challenging at first, but I fell in love with it. Like, to feel like it's just this power to where now it's like, okay, well, I ain't worried about nobody messing with me because I could protect myself. Like, I took women's self-defense. Like, it gave me this level of confidence and resilience to where, like, if something was to happen, I know I can defend myself. And I feel like it's something that all women definitely need to do, especially moms. The one thing that helped me through my journey, especially with dealing with postpartum depression, was lifting weight. How I seen it was, if I'm able to take this weight and I can lift it, right, and then control it and bring it up and bring it back down, then I have the same power to do that with my life. Wow. And so that's when I fell in love with. That's when I fell in love with like weightlifting and just being active. Like, I love combat. Like, even though I'm a sweet spirit, like, I got that in me,
Oh my gosh,
but I love it. It's just it has helped me to develop this sense of confidence. Like, if I have to protect myself, I can protect myself.
Shout out to women who lift.
Yeah, look, I'm telling you, it feels really, really good. It feels so good. But again, it's like just going at your own pace and your own journey. And that's the one thing about me when I do go like to the gym. It's like I zone out. Like, I don't care who around. Right. I'm like, I'm about to just zone out and focus on myself. Again, it's my time to work on me. And that's the one thing when I'm at the gym, like, I don't like people calling me. I don't like that's my time. That's just set out for me to be me. And like, I work out at home, but it's not the same for me as being away.
Yes.
Again, because when I'm at home, my children are at home, like that part of me is there. And it's like, no, I need to be outside of that space to fully be able to embrace and be in that moment.
I'm glad it's not just me, because I was at the gym yesterday too, and it's exactly the same thing. It's like, I don't have to be in here doing anything for anybody. I don't have to cook. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like just your own time, you know? Yes, healing space. Absolutely.
And just to shift gears one more time, part of my responsibility is the financial perspective, especially for the dreamers and people who are listening that have a vision but don't know how to bring it to fruition, especially from a financial perspective. So can you speak to that a little bit? Just going back to 2017, 2018, you have this idea, you know about this Dope Air event coming up. How do you come up with the funds to make that happen?
Honestly, well, my background is I went to school to be an accountant. I was supposed to be a CPA, but it was too tedious for me. I was like, I can't do this every day. Right. Like, I can't do this every day. Like, I really thrive on like human interaction, like, being able to directly help people. But I know what prepared me was the fact that I went to school to study business. Right. So I know how to see an opportunity or see something and create an opportunity. So my mind was like, okay, well, I just took this class with Derek Grace. He about to come to Oakland. He about to be at Dope Air, right? And he's for entrepreneurship. Why not just go ahead and get you some stickers? So I went to Amazon, I ordered some stickers, had them delivered, went to Office Depot, got them printed, just was like really proactive and realizing that sometimes you have to create your own opportunities. You can't wait for opportunities to always come knocking at your door.
Ooh,
so it was like I had to make it happen. But what did assist me financially was the last check from the job. I was able to purchase bottles. I was able to purchase those labels and do all those different things. But it was just that preparation and being like, I'm gonna be ready. Like, I got 30 days. All right, I'm about to get ready. Like, I didn't have shirts. I got a shirt done within 2 days. I paid extra to get it, but I knew that branding was going to be important also too as well. So yeah.
Wow. And how do you feel about the statement that entrepreneurs are born and not made?
I feel like it's a combination of both, because you can have an entrepreneur spirit, but if you don't invest time into it, then it's like having a talent, right? And you don't invest time into it. It's, in a sense, it's pointless until you actually doing things and putting yourself into places and spaces to build upon the skill set that you have. But also in addition to that, like I was one of those teenagers that never got hired at jobs when I would apply. And I'm like, dang, like all my friends is working at Jamba Juice and working here, working there, excuse me. But I can't even seem to get an interview.
It wasn't for you.
Right. And then when I got to college and stuff like that, I was like, maybe it just wasn't supposed to be a part of my journey. Like, what if this is God saying, like, you're supposed to be an entrepreneur? Like, you're supposed to be really out here creating change. Yeah. And so when I actually graduated and I experienced what it felt to work a 9-to-5 and it wasn't really what I wanted to do, that was that confirmation, like, yeah, this isn't for me. And I'm not saying it's been like smooth sailing. It's definitely been a beautiful struggle, some highs, some lows. But my determination and what I know the future holds, I'm willing to sacrifice it now. So if that meant doing Amazon delivery, right, in the hot sun in Fremont, up in the hills where they have these nice houses delivering packages, it's what I had to do to stay on my journey and on the path.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. And so were you born or were you made?
I say I was born with the entrepreneur spirit, and then I also invested time to continue to perfect it.
Yeah.
It's like, is Jordan an athlete? You know what I'm saying? Because of all the time that he put into the gym. Like Curry, you know what I'm saying? These guys have a gift, shooting gift, but they put countless hours into that gift. Like
Venus and Serena.
Yeah, Venus and Serena.
That's right. If we're gonna talk athletes, let's talk about the ladies too.
Oh yeah, man, they've been doing this since they was kids.
Yeah. And you made a comment earlier about when I asked about alignment, right, and like partial versus full alignment, and you mentioned like you're almost there, right? So in terms of there, where are you going? What's the next stage for the MF'n Vegan?
So the next stage for the MF'n Vegan is to definitely launch that plant-based meat alternative, again, because it's food allergy friendly, so it's soy free, it's nut free, it's gluten free, and it does not go through any like artificial processing. There's no artificial ingredients, right? And so what's really important about that is, again, the vegan community and industry is starting to be more commercialized, and so I feel like it's starting to steer away from where it was before, and so we're bringing it back basically. And so like I know it's people out there that needed people that are vegan, people that are transitioning, people that's just open to incorporating more plant-based options. So our alternative is going to be that product, that they need basically. In addition to that, the goal is to still have a mobile food truck so that we can travel and we can continue to build the brand, because as much as I love packaging the jackfruit, I also love the food, like the actual items that we make. And the way that it's put together, it's an experience that you may not necessarily get anywhere else. And I still want to be able to create that experience for people also as well. And then honestly, it's just to build it out to where we have manufacturing facilities, right, to be national. And in addition to that is being able to create opportunities for our youth within the community. So outside of building my brand and being a mom, I'm very active within the Bay Area, specifically Oakland, Alameda County, but when it comes to youth and making sure our youth have a voice and that they're heard, especially when it comes to like different forms of laws and regulations. So I've been able to help Alameda County to establish a Youth About Action Board. So it's a voice for youth within Alameda County where we're helping them to develop solutions for youth homelessness. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of youth on the streets that's like 12, 13, and just making sure that when they're making laws that they're including youth, and that youth also have a seat at the table to say like, no, this is what we need. We don't need that. Y'all think we need this. Like, no, we need transportation, or no, we need this, we need that. So
beautiful.
It's creating a space for just growth and people to have opportunities that we may not necessarily have, because the youth is the future.
That's right. I used to work for Alameda County Children's Services, right? And that is so, so, so true, because say 15, 20 years ago, the youth weren't even at the table at all. And so as time has come on, as time has gone on, there's been so much more where they're able to share their voice. And it's been slow coming. It's been a little slow, but I'm happy to hear you say that.
Yeah. Shout out to Generation Z. They've definitely been very intentional about creating a seat at the table.
It's important. It's super important because they are our future, and they're bringing a new dynamic to things that the generations before didn't necessarily have,
Right.
or weren't able to really tap into. They're really bold, and I think them like millennials, like we making it happen too. Like we are breaking curses. We're doing things like we're open to like talking about things that the generations before us may not have been able to. And so it's like, okay, well, we started, but we still got to pass the baton. So are we passing them a baton that's together where they're going to be able to take it and run, or is their baton falling apart to where it might be easier to slip out their hands? And so that's what I plan on using the MF'n Vegan is to be able to create that space, to create opportunities, create jobs, and to be able to give our youth an exposure of what entrepreneur looks like, because oftentimes we don't think about it because we don't see it. Right. So if your mom or your aunt or someone in your family was an entrepreneur, you may not think that you have the ability or know that you have the ability to be that too.
Windows and mirrors. Yeah. So believe it or not, we're almost coming to a close. We do have a few minutes left, and I know personally I got 2 more questions for you. But I'll start with the first one. So growing up in Deep East Oakland, I know Oakland gets a bad rap. It's not the 80s, but still, Oakland gets a bad rap. I want to ask you, what is growing up in Deep East Oakland done in terms of your entrepreneurship journey? Like how has it prepared you, and even possibly how has it held you back?
Got you. Well, first and foremost, I gotta shout out the Deep East Oakland DSO, because oftentimes we left off the map when it comes to certain things, and that's a part of my advocacy is making sure that part of Oakland isn't left out. But honestly, the hustle spirit, and realizing that my environment is not the only access that I have. And so like growing up, I always knew that even though there's so much that has happened, like I said, it's very intricate. I knew that there was also more, but it's just a hustle spirit that just come with it, and just realize and just knowing like who I am. And even though I may come off a little shy or a little this, you ain't gonna walk over me. So like I tell people, like, don't let that side. I got that side in me. I used to really be about it, but thankfully my children, they definitely recenter me, but it's still in there. But I walk around with this energy of knowing who I am, and knowing that if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere.
Oh yeah, that's deep. Has it held you back at all?
No, it hasn't. Honestly, I feel like it's made me very versatile. To where I'm able to speak the language of individuals that I deal with. So you can see me in different, like in meetings with border supervisors, which I've spoke, and I can hold myself very well. And then you'll see me on the street talking to the person on the street, So it's made me very versatile. And I feel like that's one of the things that has propelled my journey, is that I know how to meet people where they are and speak to people where they currently are without them feeling bad about their situation. And it's something that's really important, because oftentimes we don't know how to make those changes. And a lot of people want to say it's code switching, but it's like, no, you're speaking the language of that person. Like if I come across somebody that's speaking Spanish, I can't speak English and expect them to understand, so I have to be able to speak to this person specifically, or speak to the room that I'm with specifically. And so that's one of the things that growing up in Deep East Oakland, and Oakland too, right? And the Bay definitely has the Bay, for sure. The Bay has definitely,
So I got one last thing before we get out of here. What's the larger message that you want to leave all our audience with today?
My message would be to stay true to who you are, and to know your value, and to know that it's okay to not walk within the lines.
Make your own line.
Like there is no lines, right? At the end of the day, like you are who you are specifically. Like God made each and every one of us unique for a reason, and realizing that it's better to be unique and to stand out than to be in the crowd. And that's one of the things that I've always remembered, is that just to be you. And if a person can't accept you for who they are, they're just not a part of your tribe, right? Wow. And then it's okay to walk away. Yeah, it's okay to walk away.
Wow.
And if that wasn't game, I don't know what it is.
No, that's good.
She gave all the game today.
She did.
That's that Deep East Oakland game.
Locked and loaded.
Is there anything you want to share with our women listeners in particular, like especially ones who might have a vision or children and don't know how to see it through?
I would say just to go with it. Understand that it's going to be challenging, because we do have a lot that's on our plate. But in order for you to show up for your children, you have to show up for yourself first. And if that means that you want to start a business, just to set some time, even if it's 15 minutes aside. Like before I transitioned, like I used to be at my job when I had time, watching YouTube videos about having a business, just researching, right? Spending time like watching workshops, just really just taking time to prepare yourself, like what they want to, like putting it in your head, right? The more you hear it, the more you see it, the more you are going to become it. So just starting there is really important. Start listening to some podcasts, right, about it. Just really just put yourself in that position.
Any podcast other than anything can happen show?
For sure. Anything can happen show. There's this really great podcast of two women that's in the Bay. It's called Cultivating in Her Space. And I like it because their thing is it's a space where Black women can just be. And then there's another one called the Self-Love Fix. Also too as well. Definitely check out podcasts. And then if it's any specific industry that you want to be in, listen to podcasts about that. So when I wanted to learn about food trucks, I specifically searched up podcasts about food trucks. Like, be specific and intentional about what you're listening to, because what you consume is not just what you eat, it's also what you hear, what you see.
My goodness. Yes. Okay, we got to end with that. That was fantastic. You've listened to another classic episode of the Anything Can Happen show. Like I said, like, comment, follow, subscribe at ach.show on Instagram. That's at ach.show on Instagram. Also, you're listening to KGPC 96.9 FM Oakland. We also stream online, www.kgpc969.org. You can catch us live every single Thursday at noon on our Instagram page at ach.show. Stay tuned. We got more on the way.
Peace.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't bad at all.
That was good.
What's so amazing is every time I listen to podcasts, I'm like, you know what? That's going to be me one day. So y'all, y'all make that happen.
You got to talk to Felicia.
Come have your own. Shoot.
I got
already too much on my plate.
This has been a really